What if you're traveling across the country and you've got a destination, but you got to stay somewhere in between and you don't know where to go, and all the state parks and national parks and RV parks are booked up and you don't want to stay in a Walmart? What do you do? We've got an answer. In this video, we're going to share with you what we've learned about dispersed camping and how to find free places to dispersed camp across the United States. During our adventures in dispersed camping, we came across a guy that's pretty much met Bigfoot twice. Stick around to the end and we'll let him share his story with you directly. You're going to love it.
We've definitely had some challenges while we were traveling. There's things that happen unexpectedly, like last year when some of our reservations in state parks, we were getting emails saying canceled, canceled, canceled. Or when we looked as we were pulling out from the Grand Isles in Louisiana, and we realized that those tires need to be changed, and we had to find a place where we could change the tires on the RV, and it ended up being like a 6-hour process, so we didn't start driving till many hours later. And we slept in probably the most miserable place that I slept that night. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
We slept, next to the big rigs.
Like, 1,000 horsepower grumbling next to you all night. It's not pleasant. But we do have an answer, and it's called
dispersed camping.
We have yet to truly disperse camp. We've done boondocking. Boondocking means you were just parked somewhere, you're not hooked up to anything. And our first 5 weeks was boondocking. We stayed overlooking Bear Lake and we had no hookups, no sewer, no water, no electric, just living off the generator and the solar and stuff.
Love that. And
that was amazing. Boondocking is awesome. And every 4 days we had to go drain our tanks and fill our water tanks. I'm thinking you do the black water first, then you can flush out the gray one. What's better than sitting overlooking, nothing's better than overlooking a lake. It was pretty epic. But when you're traveling, if you don't happen to have a lake in your backyard.
To see if we've actually made it to a dispersed camping site, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button.
Dispersed camping is simply camping, usually on public lands, outside of a designated campground, and you will have no hookups whatsoever and no facilities, no bathrooms, no nothing. It's just going to be you and the dirt. The hard part is finding a place to go, knowing where you can and cannot camp, and there's lots of legal places. And the reason we're actually recording this with my arm falling off because I forgot the tripod is to tell you the two places that you can dispersed camp, which are in the national forests, USDA national forests, and in BLM land.
Which is Bureau of Land Management. And Bureau of Land Management typically means desert. Typically.
Yeah, BLM is desert, grasslands. National forest is like, that stuff. Trees, right?
And
trees. No, that's a tree.
You're going to find that most of these areas are not really scattered across the country. That's what I was really surprised. A lot of the national forests really tend to be on the West Coast, even in the Northwest, some of those areas. There are some on the East Coast.
You need to find a place using maps and internet and the tools we're going to show you in a second, and then check it out beforehand when you're not hooked up.
Not hooked up. Especially for us, we are very large and we have definitely places that we would not fit in. Also, when you go into some of these places, you may not have internet service or cell phone service. So if you get out there and you get stuck, you could be a long time sitting out there without access to get help. Would you rather be in a campground, or would you rather be out in the wild like this? Well, go ahead and comment below.
With my research, I thought we were going to be camping somewhere around here, but we're several miles in. And it's rough even in a big 4x4 pickup. Trying to tow Abby maybe out here would be, what do you think, Lily? Do you want to try to find a spot out here?
Heck no. I'm already like...
I mean, look at this pit right here.
Wait. We've been on a 1-lane bridge, which was beautiful. We have found 0 places that we could turn around. We can get in here, but I don't know how we get out if we were with towing Abby.
Dispersed camping isn't just for RVs. If you have a tent, this would be great.
And we've seen quite a few tents out here, and we actually saw people camping right on the river.
Hey, is there anywhere you can pull an RV back here where it's room? It looks pretty tight everywhere.
I'm not sure, but I gotta go.
Go.
Trevor, boy, how fast are you going? Oh my gosh. Good job, Trevor. You lost him.
Well, we made it here, but we're not bringing our rig here. You saw those roads. There's no way.
There was no way. Even when we were going 20 miles an hour, it felt like we were.
There's no way we're camping anywhere near here because there's nowhere to stick a rig. You stick a tent. Those guys got tents and stuff over there.
So there are limitations with how long you can stay. On BLM or Bureau of Land Management, you can stay up to 14 days. When you are in the national forest, they give you a couple extra days. Maybe it's because you travel so far, but you get 16 days in there. So when you get inside there, you have to move after you've been there for that length of time. There are some other restrictions, like you need to be at least 100 feet away from the water source, like right there.
The water source?
What do you mean?
Gotta be 100 feet away from the water source, like a hose.
There are some restrictions, so you do need to be at least 100 feet away from like rivers and streams and those types of things. Now there is one thing that we've seen throughout here, and there are some places that are marked off with fencing and with signage that say do not cross into these areas. So you do want to make sure that you are respectful of that. One of the purposes of dispersed camping is there are no restrooms typically, no trash, anything. So you need to pack it in and pack it out. Make sure you leave it probably better than when you came in. And one of the ways to find a site, as we saw as we were driving by, you could kind of see that, you know, somebody had already been there and maybe there was a fire ring or something like that. Now for us, it was really, really hard to tell until we actually drove these crazy roads if we would make it in the RV.
The way we found this site is by using an app called the Dyrt. This is the Dyrt, which is a great app for planning your trips and in our case today for finding dispersed camping. We've used it. One of the features it has is a trip planner. You can just click here and choose plan a trip, and you can see some of the trips that we have planned with the Dyrt. It makes it really easy to find campsites, tells you how far, how long, what's in between. It's pretty great. But for us today, we're going to find out how to find dispersed camping. So just go to explore the map, and it will load a page that looks like this. Now, we're not looking to find a campground today. All of these little green circles show you how many campgrounds are in that area. What we want to find is dispersed camping. And the two kinds of dispersed camping we talked about are camping in a national forest and camping on BLM land. Now, with the Pro version, which is like $36 a year is all, and the Pro version lets you find national forest land, find BLM land for dispersed camping. The Pro version also gives you the ability to download offline maps. So if you have no internet, you can still find your way around, which is pretty great. And to find dispersed camping, you just click on map layers. And right now we already have selected U.S. Forest Service. USFS, it's checked. And anything that's purple is U.S. Forest Service. So in most of that area, you can find dispersed camping for free. You can camp there for free in most of this area. So just to give you a feel for where this forest land is, I'm going to go full screen here and zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole country. And as Leela mentioned, you can see that in the United States, most of the U.S. forest land is on the western portion of the U.S. You do have some areas here in the east where there are some little purple spots, but mostly we're here on the west. But there's a lot. There are thousands and thousands of places you can camp across the country in U.S. forest land. So that's U.S. forest land. Now let's go ahead and look at BLM land to get a feel for that. I'm going to click on map layers. I'm going to turn off USFS, turn on BLM, hit apply, and let's go full screen again so you can see what's going on here. And here you can see it's exclusively from central U.S. west. I don't see any BLM land on the East Coast. You might think, well, I just want to camp in forest land. Well, you might not be anywhere where there are forests. You might have to camp in BLM land, which is typically desert and grasslands. Let's go back to this other view and show you how we found the place we explored. You click apply back into the USFS section here, and I'm going to zoom in to this blue dot, which is where I currently am in Southern Oregon. And all I wanted to do is find what's the nearest U.S. forest land to me where I can camp for free, dispersed camp. All right, here's me zoomed in. This is me up here in Grants Pass in the outskirts of town, and this is U.S. forest land that's purple here. And I saw this like, oh, this looks interesting. It's near a river. It's pretty close, maybe 45 minutes away. Let's check this out. So I just brought it to the center. You zoom in a little bit and you can get a feel for what's going on over here. Now they've got some campsites here, but I don't want to go to a campsite. I want to dispersed camp, and I see here's a road and looks like a bridge there. And to see if it's a good spot, one thing you can do, as Leland mentioned, is you can just go into the satellite view. So I'll go back to map layers. I'll look at satellite, hit apply, and now I can zoom in a little bit more and get a feel. And sometimes you can see, little white spots that are RVs. Sometimes you can see, cars or tents. And so it looks like there's potentially space around here where I might be able to camp. But really, the only way to find out for sure is to go there. So that's what we did. If you are traveling in an RV, the Dyrt is a fantastic app to have. It'll help you find your way around the country, and it'll help you find dispersed camping. There's a link for it in the description below. You want to contact a forest ranger station or a BLM office to really know for sure if you're allowed to camp there. But if you find something using the overlays in an app like the Dyrt, you're probably safe to camp there for free. Also, dispersed camping is generally allowed within a mile of an existing campground or of a population center. As of this recording, we still have not dispersed camp, and the place we wanted to camp turns out not so great. So we've got to keep looking, but this just kind of proves the point that you better go check it out before you pull your rig. And if we'd pulled our RV down here, we might have been kind of in a tough situation.
My name is Keith. My first encounter was in 2014 on my way to the hospital for my wife, and this item was crawling up the bank at Savage Rapid Dam, and at first I thought it was like an Afghan dog. But it got up to the road and it was about 45 feet away from me, and it did not waddle when it stood up and ran across the road, and it went up into the hill. And I didn't tell anybody about it because I thought I was crazy. And now in 2020 and 2021, my wife is in the hospital again, and I'm on the way to the hospital, and this time a reddish brown item came up from the side of the Savage Rapid Dam area, and this was about 9 feet tall, really shaggy, reddish brown. It was less than 40 feet away from me. It turned, just pivoted its waist, turned, and I could see its cheeks. Its eyes were reflected in my headlights, and it turned and just walked across the road and up in the hills. My counselor that I told about it, he had some of his friends go out, and they found some 18-inch long prints, or tracks, whatever you want to call them. But that's my two encounters so far.
With what creature was that?
I believe it's a Bigfoot, yes, a Sasquatch.
And so,
both of them.
What are the odds of it actually being a Bigfoot? Because most people think it's not real.
I think it's 100%. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I know what I saw, period. That's it.
Wow.
And there's nobody going to convince me of anything else.
To see more free places to camp, go ahead and check out that video up there. We've talked about some of the favorite places we found last year, and make sure you hit that subscribe button right there. We look forward to sharing our adventures with you. That'll probably end up cut. Okay, we're done.